are large underwater communities made of millions of tiny animals called coral. Many other kinds of animals and plants also live in the coral reef. We're going to make a sculpture of some of these creatures with Model Magic clay. Today we're going to work with Model Magic clay, which it comes in all different colors, but today we're going to use red, blue, yellow, and white. The easiest way to get into these packages is to use a pair of scissors and to cut the top off and pick out what you need. Okay, so we have a little bit of each of the three colors plus white to start our sculpture. And the first thing we're going to do is to make a base or a little pancake for our sculpture to sit on. You can choose any of the colors. I'm going to choose white, so I'm going to use about half of this and make a little ball by rolling it in my hands. See how I roll it around in a circle and it makes a little ball. And then I'm going to flatten it like a pancake. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. This is supposed to be the bottom of the ocean, and we're going to build our little coral reef right on top of it. It's about that thick. You don't want it too thin. And about that big. Okay? So a coral reef is made up of lots of small organisms kind of built together into a little community. So we're going to create our coral reef by putting together some small pieces of Model Magic. We can use just the three colors by themselves, but we can also mix some colors of Model Magic if you want to make different colors. So for example, I know a lot of coral is a sort of pink color. So if I take some white and red, I squish them together and twist and pull and kind of squish and pull for a few minutes. You can see that they become a little marbly, and then at some point it just starts mixing together into one color. So you keep pulling and twisting, turning and mixing. Okay, so now I have a bright pink color. If I wanted it lighter, I could add some more white. It doesn't take very much color to make a color with white. So now I have some pink to work with. I have some red, there's some yellow. What if I wanted to make green? What colors would I use? That's right, I'd mix yellow with a little bit of blue, which you don't need as much blue as yellow. There's also lots of little animals like octopus and shrimp and fish and eels and starfish and seahorses. All of these different things you could put into your coral reef if you like. So let's think about the coral reef itself. Corals are small animals called coral polyps, and they kind of build a skeleton community, and then the polyps live inside the skeleton. So it almost looks like some fingers coming up out of the ocean, depending on the kinds of coral. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pink, I'm going to use part of it and kind of roll it into a little sausage shape. And I'm going to just press that onto my pancake base. The one thing about Model Magic that you have to kind of be aware of and watch out for is that if it gets too long and skinny, the pieces won't stay upright. So if I made a really long skinny piece like this and I tried to put it up here, oops, it just flops over. So I'm going to keep my pieces kind of short and stout. That means sort of fat. And I'm going to start to build my pieces of coral reef just by pressing them together and then kind of reshaping them as I like. I can add on some different parts. I might be able to make some more pink, but I'm just going to add on some red here, I think. It's pretty close in color anyway. And make a few more arms. Okay, so that's our basic piece of coral here. I can add some green. There's a kind of coral called a brain coral that is actually just kind of a ball. I'm going to use a pencil to make a pattern on it that makes it look a little bit more like the brain coral, just by poking some little lines and dots in here. And I'm going to attach that right next to my pink coral here. If you want to press it in with your pencil, that works too, to press them together good. You want to make sure they're attached firmly. So some other things that we can add to our coral reef are maybe some yellow sea sponge. A sponge is actually an underwater, is an ocean animal. It's alive and it grows in these sort of tube-like things. So I'm going to make a little sausage, but I'm going to use my pencil to kind of poke a hole in the top and form a little tube around the end of my pencil. And that's what a natural sea sponge looks like. And then I'm going to press that onto my base here. They usually grow in groups, so I'm going to make more than one here. There we go. There's some sea sponge. What else should I make? I know that sand dollars are another fun thing that live in the coral reef. And sand dollars, when they're alive, are actually a purplish color, kind of a light purple color. And when I want to make, if I wanted to make purple, I would mix blue and red together. And if I want to mix that to be lighter purple, I would mix in some white. So I'm going to mix all three of these colors and see what I get. There we go. There's some purple happening. Now a sand dollar, if you haven't ever seen one, is called a sand dollar because it looks like a little round dollar coin, which we don't see too many of anymore, but they used to be pretty popular. I'm going to make a bunch of small ones to go on my coral reef. So I just want some little balls that I can roll in my hand and then kind of flatten out. And a sand dollar has a pattern on the top of it that is like a little flower. So with my pencil, I can kind of press in a little flower pattern. And then I'm just going to add that to my reef here. So they live in colonies or groups, usually. And so I'm going to add several. Little ball, swoosh it flat. Make the pattern. A little animal actually lives inside the sand dollar shape. It's quite interesting. Okay, so let's imagine that you want to make a little fish to go in your coral reef here. One thing that we have to remember is that if you're making a sculpture, the fish can't be floating above your coral reef. It has to be attached to it somehow. So we have to think about where we'll attach it and how we'll attach it once we get the fish made. So a fish shape, let's make a blue one. I'm thinking about Dory. I may not get this quite right, but there's a blue fish that's sort of a flat triangular shape. And I'm gonna press it just in sort of I can pinch it with my fingers to make the nose triangular, and then I can pinch a tail at the end and kind of flatten that out and form a tail shape. Sometimes your pencil helps to do these things. I can draw some little patterns on here with my pencil. So there's part of it. I might want to add, I'm going to put on some little yellow fins here, and the fins are definitely triangle shape. And remember, a sculpture is three-dimensional, which means that we can see all sides of it. So we want to do both sides, not like a picture, but like you want to look around all sides. I'm going to put some little yellow eyes on here as well. And the dorsal fin, which is the top fin on a fish, sort of a rectangular oval shape maybe. Here we go. Now, to attach that, I think I'm just gonna kind of sit it inside my little coral piece here. Set it right there on top. And it'll be swimming over the coral reef. Can you see that? Now, what else should we make? There's a lot of different things we could try. How about a little crab? I think a crab has a kind of round shaped body. How many legs does a crab have? They're actually related to spiders, which means that they do have 8 legs. And the front legs have that claw on them that they can pincher things with. I'm actually gonna kind of attach the legs to the bottom here. This might take a minute. I'm just using my fingers to kind of pinch and form the different parts. You can roll it on the table. Room for my last 2 legs here. How am I going to do that? Planning is a key thing when we're making our art sometimes. I'm just going to kind of pinch it in there, and then when I turn it over, there I have most of my crab. It also has 2 little stalk-like eyes that come up. A stalk is a little thing like that, comes up off their head, and then their eye is actually on the end of that, which I'm going to put on with a little tiny bit of different color. There, kind of have a crab there. Now I can affix him to the edge of my little pancake over here. There we go, and he can be crawling around onto the seafloor. So as much clay as you have, you can just continue building little pieces on here. If you want to extend your seafloor, you can add another bit to the edge of your pancake and just kind of keep going. And that's actually how the coral reef grows. It just keeps adding little bits and pieces onto the bottom of the ocean. We could make some sea grass or kelp with our green here, waving around. Remember, you can't make it too high and skinny. We have to kind of keep it short and fat, or else it'll fall over. But it should look like it's waving in the water, because remember how that water moves in the ocean. Here we go. All right, well, I'll let you use the rest of your clay to keep going and experimenting with your clay coral reef. Hope you have a good day. So here's my little sculpture. You can look at it from all different directions, and it's 3-dimensional and contains all my little coral reef creatures. If you have leftover clay, make sure you put it in a plastic bag to store it, or else it'll go dry. Your sculpture will dry in about 2 days, and then you can paint it or color it if you like.